Hello and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today I have pretty much 11 hours or 13 hours or something like that difference in the UK with these daylight savings. Tom Blackman, who he echoes every single thing I say, and I pretty much echo everything he says because it's a message that really needs to get out there to people like you who aren't trying to get on stage for one day to look good and then not look like that for the rest of their life and end up with a really shitty relationship with food most of the time. But people that actually want to live a leaner lifestyle, people that actually want to see the body changes over time and not yo-yo in and out of diets and fads and never really see the results you want because you don't really know what to do. And we echo the same message of just how important it is to focus on the basics, but also not get caught up in the hype and think that every message out there is for you. So with that, I'm going to let him introduce himself and talk about what it is that he comes up against in terms of challenges that women face when trying to achieve their ultimate body and actually maintain it for good this time.
Okay, well, thank you, Ruby, for having me on. And I realise there is a bit of a time difference here. I think it's 8 o'clock where I am, but it's like 7 p.m. where you are. Yeah. So at both ends of our day, I haven't probably woken up yet, and you're just about ready to hit the sack. So hopefully something special will come of this chat. So if you don't know me, my name's Tom Blackman. I'm a performance nutritionist. I'm also author of the book Target Lean, this is my first ever copy, the one that was sent from Amazon, which is why it's got a bar across there. I always keep it for, memento. And the reason I wrote Target Lean was because I was working with a lot of people who had experienced the fad diet and the Instagram influencer impact on their life of strange diet hacks and weird things that you can do to get in shape, which actually don't do anything long term and actually mess you up pretty bad. There is a case study in the book from a lady I worked with who was so afraid of carbs that she just couldn't eat them, and if she had to eat them because she was so tired, she would immediately think that she was going to get fat. And that was one of the main, I suppose, kickstarts for me to write the book, was to show people that you can actually get in shape and you can have a great relationship with carbohydrates as well as all other foods. And so that's why I wrote the book. Unfortunately, that is something that is happening a lot. It still happens. I thought it was only in like bodybuilding where people were doing this sort of extreme dieting, because that's where I came from. I was a competitive bodybuilder, and I did all sorts of weird things to get into shape, restrictive diets, binging, cheat days, all that sort of stuff. And I thought it was just bodybuilders where this happens. So when I started working with, I suppose, mainstream people, I was like, oh, this is going to be okay because they all have nice varied diets and stuff like that, and I can help them. No, it was all the same, fad stuff. And can we have cheat days? Can we do fasted cardio? Is keto really good? All those sorts of things. So so it's a bit of an eye opener. And I work with many women over the years. Some to lose a lot of weight, and some who are already in sort of decent shape, but because they've got this bad relationship with food, they're not, I suppose, optimizing their potential. And it is quite interesting to see when you start helping them understand that you can have carbs at certain times. You're obviously going to be mindful of calories, but carbs actually do help. And seeing the change in their physique is almost overnight in terms of how you look. But the problem is, which I'm sure you get when you work with people, is that there is this stigma around certain nutrients and certain foods, which is very hard to overcome. People have a hard time overcoming that.
There's so much of a stigma around so many things that I do feel come from bodybuilding, and I don't know whether you know my background, but I come from the exact same thing. And I remember when I used to see people's macro caps and these bowls of things where people would just put like, oh, I saved all my calories for like this Tim Tam, this ice cream, this, and I'd be like scrolling, and it's something that is all over, like it's there on social media, and we can't filter. Well, we can, because we know what we're looking for, but the general person can't filter out what information is for them and what's not. And it's like, yeah, you can eat that, but should you? Like, I think you did IOPN with Laurent Bannett as well, because his thing is, yeah, you can eat that, but should you? Or yeah, you can do that, but should you? Because you have free will, you have free choice. And it's almost the same with this whole like flexible dieting thing. It's like there's a difference between flexible dieting and flexible nutrition, where you actually are picking the foods that optimize you and your performance, including your metabolism. Because if you're going to fill it with all the shitty foods, realizing that processed foods actually cost less calories to burn. And not only that, but they have such a negative impact on your body in terms of the way that you digest it, the way that you perform on it, your energy. If it spikes your blood sugars or insulin, whatever you want to think about it, and it just crashes, then you're going to be craving something soon after. And that has such a significant impact on your body composition. And I feel like because we were talking about carbs, it's something that we can tie into this whole, it's not what you do, but what you focus on. Are you going to focus on what calories you can eat, what food you can eat, what food you can't eat, what your limitations are? Or are you going to actually focus on how you can feel better, how you can perform, and actually building muscle? But I don't think women really understand the value of having muscle, of training for building muscle and strength. So maybe you can talk a little bit more about that and just how important that is in building not only their body composition, but their metabolism in the process.
Yeah, sure. So I've actually got an interesting infographic, because I like infographics and stuff like that. So I've got this interesting infographic which is called the flexible dieting paradox. And the ironic thing is that when you are when you're not following any sort of diet, or you're and you're just going about your day normally, not knowing you need to do something about your diet, you're actually in the ultimate flexible diet there, because you don't have any restrictions. You just eat exactly what you want. Then the sort of the life cycle of that is that as soon as you go into any sort of diet plan or something like that, immediately your I suppose your flexibility goes down, because all these things you're eating before you can't have, and so your sort of flexibility plummets. And then as you learn more about your diet and nutrition, your flexibility goes up, because now, well, I can have that bit of cake if I accommodate it into my calories. And then ironically, later on, when you're looking for more performance aspects, your flexibility goes down again, because even though you've got all this knowledge and all this, I know what I can eat and everything else, you're then talking about, should I eat that? You know, so should I have that cake, or should I have that bagel pre-workout, which is going to be best for me? So your flexibility actually goes down. So you see this sort of spike going through the cycle where you go hyper flexible, then limited, and then flexible again, and then limited. And what I find is that when I start working with people, they're in this very restricted level, because they have been told that carbs are evil and all this sort of stuff, and they're not eating for performance nutrition. And what I find is we have to get people into the flexible eating stage before we go then onto the performance stage, because otherwise you're bypassing that learning protocol of, I need to know what foods I can eat and within the limits, before I then start thinking about optimizing for performance. And that is something that I think some coaches do forget. If someone says, oh, I want to get ripped, I want to get into shape, I want to build up muscle, whatever, and they're like, great, let's go straight to high protein, clean carbs and all this other stuff, without going through that stage of, we need to find what works for you. And there's a real flaw with how people I suppose, coach people. They go straight for the result rather than building the systems in order to get there. And I'm a big one for building systems. I don't know if you've read a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear.
It's the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And he talks about falling to the level of your systems. So if you go straight from ultra restricted zone through to performance nutrition zone, you've bypassed that period where you've had that higher flexibility and you've had that choice. So you don't know any other way than eating really restricted or eating semi-restricted for performance. There's no in-between bit. And that's why, again, people who go on these diets, which are, I suppose good for performance because they get you building muscle and they get you, losing some body fat, that can't be sustainable forever. Even professional athletes don't stay on an athletic diet for the whole time. They do have time off, they do have off seasons, etc. And that's the problem, is people don't do that transition from really restricted to a bit more flexible and then into performance nutrition. In terms of muscle building, what you're saying about females, I don't know what it's like where you are. I mean, obviously we're on the other side of the world. In England, it's becoming more accepted that women should have muscle and women should build muscle. I think that stereotype of women thinking that muscle is going to make them manly is thankfully dying, and is thankfully now moving out of what is believed to be the right thing, and more people are getting involved in like sort of CrossFit training, bodybuilding type training, powerlifting, that sort of thing. We have a lot of women who come to my gym, because I own a gym in Bristol, and they are doing powerlifting stuff, but they're not looking to be competitive powerlifters. They're just looking to lift a bit heavier and get stronger. And I think obviously people like you, like me, people who are putting that positive message out that, yeah, it's really great to have muscle, because if you've got more muscle, you've got more glycogen stores where you can dump carbohydrates in. So if you do eat more carbohydrates than you can, I suppose, account for, it's less likely that's going to turn to fat. And that argument that generally does quite well with women, I find, is like, yeah, if you lift more weights and you've got more muscle, you can eat more carbs. And like, oh, happy days.
You said something about, we both probably talk about this way too much, but it needs to keep being said. You can't just focus on the outcome that you want to achieve, because a message that I was saying is if you hate your way to a result that you're aiming for the sake that you think it's going to make you feel complete or happy, it's kind of the paradox in itself there, where you want to do something to make you feel good, but you're making yourself feel like shit in the process. You're not going to really feel good when you get to the end, because you never enjoyed the journey. And I was speaking with a girl ages ago. She ended up not even following through with doing coaching, but she's like, I injured myself, I can't do anything. I'm like, what did you do? How'd you injure yourself? Oh, I finally got back to the gym the other day and I did an hour on this machine. I did, as in the cardio machines, I did an hour on this machine. I did 30 minutes on that one, and I did 30 minutes on that one. And by then my husband was done. So then we went home. I'm like, okay. And then we went back and did it the next day. But then I really felt like shit the next day. And I just didn't even want to go to start with, because it's just draining and I had no motivation. I'm like, okay, so why are you doing so much on the treadmill? She's like, because I can actually burn fat that way. Okay, so you said you want to feel strong, but all you're doing is cardio. Did you lift any weights? No, because I need to burn my fat first. Like, all she wanted was to lose weight, and this is the outcome she wants, but there is no system to get there. And she mentioned all these diets she's tried before, gained all the weight back. It's like, the analogy I thought of, because I used to be a math student, is if you don't learn the theory and you just learn how to answer particular questions, when you're put into a certain situation to answer other questions with other complications, like there's a lot more going on to the exam questions, because they always make it harder. You're not going to be able to answer those questions because you didn't start the system, you didn't study the system to know how to get those answers. So I'm not really sure if people still believe that muscle makes you bulky, but the thing that I see a lot, I don't know what it's like over there, is the belief that HIIT training and circuit training and high reps is what you need to get the body you want. And I can't lift heavy because I'm going to get injured. And if I lift heavy, then I'm just gonna bulk up instead of tone up and lose fat, but I'm doing high reps and I just seem to be bulking anyway. Like, they don't understand what it actually takes. So maybe you can explain why it is so important to focus your right intentions on how to structure a training program, so it's not all the huffy puffy stuff, and it's actually focused on progressive training and getting the most out of every single rep. Because I don't think a lot of people actually focus on how they lift a weight. It's more like, I just want to shovel this weight on the bar, or I just want to move this I just want to get this session over and done with. Like, the importance of all of that in creating a physique.
Yeah, sure. So so in terms of like when people talk about like their fat burning exercises, there's a real and this isn't helped by gyms with their little fat burning zone graphs on the treadmill or whatever. There is, and I can understand why people make this mistake, because obviously the gyms push this and uneducated PTs push this. They talk about like getting in the fat burning zone for your cardio. So people say, oh, I have to do my steady state low intensity cardio because that's going to burn more body fat as the main percentage of the energy substrate used. And well, they might not say energy substrate, they might just say burn more fat. But what they're thinking of is, if I'm exercising at a low intensity, then the body has more chance to convert fat into energy than it does glycogen in the muscles. And actually, that's not the way it works. And it's ironic actually that the fitter you get, the less likely you are to burn body fat when you're doing low intensity treadmill work or low intensity bike work. And the reason for that is the way the way the body is made up. And if you are severely obese, you have fat stored in your muscles like everybody does. But unfortunately, you don't have the enzymes, or not as many of the enzymes stored in the in the muscle to convert that fat into energy for use by the muscles. Now, you might be thinking, well, why have we got fat stored in the muscles? Surely that doesn't make sense. You know, why would you have body fat in the muscles? It's not body fat, it's something called intramuscular triglycerides. And the reason they're in the muscle is because as you get fitter, your body wants to be able to exercise longer. And it's just not going to be able to do that with just glycogen stores. So it stores fat in the muscle for use in low intensity exercise. Now, the problem you've got there is that if you're obese, obviously you haven't got experience with exercising a lot. So the body cannot turn those intramuscular body fat or intramuscular fat stores into energy easily. So actually, if you're obese, you do get more benefit from doing low intensity cardio, because the only way you can burn fat for energy is to go to your body fat stores. Now, ironically, as you get fitter and as you get more experience with exercise, the body then starts producing more of these enzymes in your muscle to be able to convert what I call iron tags, intramuscular triglycerides, into energy for use in the muscle. So you get fitter and you can do more exercise. But the kicker here is you're not burning as much body fat, because the fat the body needs to burn that energy is right there in the muscle where it needs it. It doesn't need to go off to the body fat stores and get some body fat and then bring it back in, because it's right there in the muscle. And this is, I suppose, a debate I have or with loads of people saying, yeah, but fasted cardio. And this, yeah, okay, you might burn fat as a higher percentage of your energy in fasted cardio. But what really matters is the end of the day, have you eaten more than you've burned? And you could do fasted cardio for 5 or 6 hours. If you're then going to often go and eat 6,000 calories in the day and you've only burnt 5,000, you're still going to gain some body fat. You just can't get away from that. And I don't want one of these fitness gurus who shouts, oh, calorie deficit all the time, and that's all that I shout. But that has got to be at the forefront of what you're trying to do. If you're trying to transform your body, and part of that is to lose body fat, you've got to be mindful of the food going in as well as the exercise going out. And steady state cardio burns very low amounts of energy. You know, so if you're thinking about, yeah, you might be burning fat as a higher percentage of fuel when you're doing low intensity cardio, but the total amount of calories you're burning is very low as well. So you've got to do a lot of that low intensity cardio to burn, say, 200-300 calories. Whereas if you were to say grab a kettlebell and do some, I'm not talking about really heavy kettlebell, but just throw a light kettlebell around for 25 minutes doing some circuits, you're going to hit that 200-300 calories a lot sooner, probably 20 minutes. And I know this because this is what I do in my coaching community. I have every twice a week a kettlebell class, which is literally throwing a 10-kilo kettlebell around for 20 minutes, 300 calories. So my community doesn't need to do this low intensity cardio because they've smashed that cardio with doing weights. And the benefit of that is the signals you're sending to your body, because the body works on signals. What you're telling it to do, it will respond to that. If you're always doing low intensity cardio and less lifting with weights, the signals you're sending is, we don't want to be as big muscular wise, we just want to be maybe lean and skinny. If you're always doing your cardio or doing the high percentage of cardio with some sort of weighted stuff like HIIT training, like kettlebell stuff, like slam balls, all that sort of stuff, I'm not talking about resistance to failure, but a weight which you smash over and over again. The signals you're sending to your body then is, I want to be lean and fit, but I also want good muscle definition. I also want good muscle tone. And you'll see that's why, and I don't like admitting that CrossFitters are in really good shape, but that is the premise of CrossFit, is doing lots and lots of weighted stuff repeatedly fast. And that's why a lot of them are in such great shape. Maybe a lot of them are shredded, but they have got good muscle tone. They have got good lean physiques because they're smashing weights repeatedly over and over and over again. That's the signals they're sending. And if you look at the comparison of the I suppose the calorie burn thing here, if you look at, say, a marathon runner, they burn thousands of calories because they're doing lots and lots of cardiovascular work, but they are not muscular. When you look at a bodybuilder who's doing less calories for sure per workout, but are targeting with weights all the time, then you've got that end of the spectrum where the signals being sent give you the body that you want. And I think people need to understand that analogy. You know, if you want to build a better body, weights has to form a major part of that. Otherwise, you're just trimming off body fat and you're left with what's underneath. And for a lot of people, unfortunately, it's not a good amount of muscle, and that's why they don't look as good.
That's so true. And I guess just so the the women listening to this kind of understand what you said then as well, like talking about the kettlebell and throwing the kettlebell around, like this is not a strength training session. CrossFit is not proper strength training. What he is trying to say is the difference between doing low intensity cardio and doing cardio type work with weights. Like, you are sending a signal to maintain that muscle mass, to stimulate muscle growth, muscle maintenance, muscle stimulus, whatever you want to understand it as. That's what the weights do. But if you're just running, if you're just biking, if you're just doing whatever in terms of low intensity cardio, the only signal that you are sending is, let's make the body smaller. But there's a paradox that you said there before where, yeah, that works until your body adapts to it. And then instead of burning, say, 300 calories for that amount, like that hour of cardio, you're burning 200. Like, your body gets more efficient at that. But the kettlebell is not a strength training session. That is just better done cardio in that sense. But at the same time, this is not telling you girls to switch your low intensity cardio for kettlebell workouts if you don't take into consideration, are you fueling your body for the work that you're doing? One, which then kind of conflicts the fact that you're trying to lose weight. But then the other consideration is, okay, so what's the cost recovery rise with this? Like, is this going to eat into your recovery? Are you a busy mom who's always on her feet, who's trying to fit in 4 strength sessions a week? You don't really have time to recover from that. I don't think doing WODs at the CrossFit gym or doing circuit training is going to really benefit you unless you're recovering from that, because you can't train hard unless you recover hard from it as well. So this brings me back to the message I really wanted to talk about, which is you really need to be careful about who you follow and what you read, because there is amazing information out there that's true, but it's not true for you. My alarm's going off. But it's not true for you. So you need to be careful about what you, well, not just what you believe, because there's a lot of bullshit out there as well, but what you apply to yourself. Like someone could be talking about carb timing and intra-workout carbs. That's cool for an athlete, but it's not cool for you. Like if you're prepping someone for bodybuilding and then some Nancy Sue who just wants to look good every single day tries to take into account, okay, so she's having 6 meals a day, she's on 1,200 calories, she's only allowed to eat carbs at this time. Okay, I have to do the same. Good luck maintaining that. Like, you need to know what is for you. So maybe you could probably apply this to some clients that you experience this with as well. Like when you have a woman that just wants to look amazing and build muscle, lose fat, and the fact that she sees all this information on social media and what Booty Betty says on Instagram with her banded workouts.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of disinformation or bad information out there, and unfortunately, it is from people with very big followings, and that's hard to counter. And the other issue you've got here is that people, everybody, me and you included, likes quick fixes to things. It's when you've got someone saying, oh, do this, use this banded thing, and you will have a bigger glute in 6 weeks. And then you've got someone else saying, well, actually, you need to do a bit of strength training, a bit of conditioning, a bit of volume work, and it's going to take 6 months to get that booty. Then obviously people are going to go for buying the booty building band for $39.99 because they're willing to pay extra for a fast result. Obviously, the issue there is that when they don't get that result, there's a couple of things that happen. First of all, they might think, well, that was a waste of money. I'm not buying that again, but they've already bought it. The influencers had their money. And then they're on to the next fad thing because they've already invested in fad things must work. The other side of things, they might think, well, actually, it's probably my fault because all these diet plans and all these weight training programs and all these weird things that come from influencers and come from these diets, they all have some sort of caveat included, such as must be followed as part of a calorie controlled diet. As in this fat burner will only work if it's part of a calorie controlled diet. Okay, so just have a calorie controlled diet. You won't need a fat burner. But if we're talking about that, well, my cup of coffee is a fat burner because it can help fat burning as long as I have a calorie controlled diet. The box of Quality Street, I don't know if you have Quality Street in Oz, but Quality Street is like pick and mix chocolates. My box of Quality Street is a fat burning chocolate as long as I have it within a calorie controlled diet. Boom, fat burning chocolate. There's all these caveats, and then think, well, did I do that? Did I follow it as part of a calorie controlled diet? Did I get up at 6 a.m. every day to do that workout because 6 a.m. is a magical glute building time? No, I didn't. So that's my fault. So it's not the product that's faulty. It's my fault because I obviously didn't want it enough. And that is the response from a lot of these people, is like, you've got to get up and do the grind and hustle and blah, blah, whatever else buzzwords. I don't know what buzzwords you have over there. We have hustle and grind and stuff over here. And then it's like, well, you didn't do the thing. That's why you didn't get the result. So it's not that my product didn't work. It's that you didn't work. And the blame is shifted back onto the person. And then they're off for the next thing that they can have a quick fix on. And that is, I think, one of the big problems is that the message is going out there that you can do this thing to get this thing quickly. And actually, what it does get the results is the consistent effort that you put in, the 1% you put in, which accumulates and compound into this big thing that you want to get.
Consistency really is the one thing that a lot of people lack, and it's not for a lack of trying. It's more so there's unrealistic expectations, and I guess in that same breath, it's you don't really know your meaning of progress and what progress takes, and you don't even know your meaning of like a process or results or the outcome, because you're so disillusioned from what social media tells you that you should expect and how fast you should expect it. And like, we can go on and on about the fact that it's not really the product's fault and it's not really your fault either, but it, like, we can say it to the cows come home, it's not going to fix anything. I feel like one big topic here is the fact that people cling to some identity. Like, I just had this conversation with one of my perimenopause women where I'm just like, yeah, okay, I understand you're going through a really tough time, but can you stop blaming the perimenopause? And by saying that, I'm saying stop identifying with it, stop focusing on it, stop bringing it to the light and saying, this is why I am the way I am, because you're giving it the power. Acknowledge that you're feeling the way you are because you're a human, but don't keep saying, oh, I'm going through perimenopause, this is why I'm like this, because you're just like, whatever you focus on expands. And if you're going to talk about the thing, you're going to keep talking about the thing. If you think about the thing, it's going to be the thing that's always on your mind. So don't have that on mind. But if you bring this into the quick fix mentality, it's they are so conditioned to looking for a certain thing and being the dieter, being someone who's going through these phases. Like, I know when I was competing, I was always wanting to see the scale go down towards the end of prep, because it's like, yes, I'm getting leaner. Yes, I'm getting closer to stage state. And my coach was always the one that wanted to go by the scale weight, which I never actually get my girls to do. But my coach was all about the scale. And even though we don't get weight on stage for who looks the best, it's somehow the way that prep coaches go, which I guess it's all they really have as a metric that they can go by. But I got so used to that once I competed, I found it so hard to then get out of that dieting stage, because I wasn't attaching to a number going down anymore. And I found it hard to see it go up when I was unsustainably lean on 1,100 calories, because I was shredded, I was diced, I was striated. But that's not lean. Like, maintaining a result doesn't require you doing the same shit on that same restricted diet. It's the same systems, like we spoke about, the systems, not the finite details, because the way to solve this math equation isn't the way to solve the next one, but the theory remains the same. I don't know why I brought math into this all of a sudden, but I love it. I love it. But think about it that way. Like, you learn algebra, but the way to solve this triangle isn't the same way to solve that hexagon. Like, it's the same formula, but it's applied completely differently. And you need to think about that without attaching, like, this is why a scale is so damaging. And like, as much as people say, if you weigh yourself every single day, you'll get used to the scale fluctuations. But as human beings, like, you can still get triggered by that scale fluctuating in a way that you didn't want it to, especially if you're on your period or whatever the hell else is going on. Like, you are still subject to that, and it can impact your mood. It can impact so much, because it's just the way that our society is. So I think it's damaging regardless, because yeah, you know that the scale fluctuates, but is it going to catch you in a bad mood one day and then you're going to let that catapult? It's, yeah, that's just my view on that in that sense. But it's like, you need to detach from focusing so much on outcomes and focus more on what you need to do. And you mentioned that in that post, and I still feel like that post needs to be spoken about more. But I want you to talk about that post in with this other post that you mentioned before. I'm going to actually read it. I found it now. It's when people say you're in starvation mode. We already know starvation mode doesn't exist, but I did put up a really in-depth Instagram post recently on every reason why calories in, calories out is not the be all end all. And it's not your hormones either, but your hormones dictate how your body, the whole stimulus, like when you stimulate it with cardio and you stimulate it with muscle, your body responds to those signals. Well, your hormones tell your body what to do with the calories. And that's why it is so important to flick through that and save it, but also realize that your body is an intricate system. And Tom says in this post, if you drop your calories too low, your body does whatever it needs to do to prevent your body going into, like, it does everything it can to slow your fat loss, because it senses starvation. And especially as females, we are the one that needs to survive, because we need to have our babies, we need to protect our race, whatever it is. Like, we do everything we can to preserve ourselves more. Most starvation mode events come from excessive deficits and workout schedules that are not fueled properly. And that kind of feeds into that whole kettlebell thing as well, where it's like, you need to know what your goal is. I'm talking too much right now, but you can take this one away, where you need to know what your goal is. If it's performance, if it's you want to enhance your workouts more or whatever it is, then okay, you need to fuel your HIIT training, your WOD type cardio to actually get the result out of it. But if you want fat loss, then less is more, but you want to do more of the right stuff and less of a variety of things, if that makes sense. So take that one away.
Yeah, okay. So I think in that post, what I was talking about was and we come back to what you said about doing running and this, that, the other. I don't say to any of my coaching community, oh, you shouldn't run, or you shouldn't do bike, or you shouldn't do this sort of stuff. What the message is that exercise should always be fun. And the problem is that a lot of people do cardio, or they do running, or they do stepping or whatever, because they feel they have to do that because that's what's going to get them into a fat loss situation. Now, if you're doing stuff that you like all the time, it's the same as if you've got a diet full of foods that you like. It becomes less of a job. And this is the thing, is that people, when they're on a diet, they're immediately, it's like, oh, I've got to go to work today. So if you work for someone else in a job that you hate, oh, I've got to go to work today. The reason I've got to go to work today is because I've got to earn money to live. It's the same with if you do a diet or training that you hate, diet or training you hate, then what happens is it becomes a job, it becomes a slog. So you look for ways to make that slog easier. You look for ways potentially to get out of doing that. So sometimes you can have something called secondary gain. So like, I've got to go to the gym, it's a spin class, I hate doing spin. And as you walk out the door, you bash your elbow on the door. Oh, my elbow is so painful. Oh, I can't go to the gym now because it's so painful. And you've got that secondary gain of, because I'm so injured, I can't now go to the gym. So you sort of justify to yourself the reason why you're not doing that thing. The other thing, and this is very common with food, is like, oh, it's been a really stressful day, so I'm going to have a meal to cheer myself up. And it's, that's the wrong thing to do in terms of, it's going to put you into a massive amount of calories, maybe cause you to binge, but you justify it to yourself in the fact that I'm going to do this because I am stressed, because I've had a hard day at work, because the kids have been so annoying today, because my husband's annoying, not tidied up after himself, which is something that I get a lot. It's all these things that you justify to yourself why you're going to go off plan. But if you enjoyed doing all those things, if you enjoyed eating the foods that are on your diet plan, if you enjoyed the training, bashing your elbow as you're walking out the door, it's blimey now, right, let's go to the gym and let's do something positive about it. If the kids were winding you up all day, it's bloody kids, I'm just going to have a bowl of fruit, whatever. I'm going to have a fruit bowl. I'm going to have my steak and potato. I'm going to have whatever is, because it's food that you like. That's going to cheer you up. Going to the gym, if you like going to the gym, is going to cheer you up. There's no get out clause. And this is why I say to my community, if you're going to run, then don't run in order to burn calories off. Why don't you fuel that running? So you get the most out of that running. If you're going to go to the gym, fuel that workout so that you're getting the most out of it. So when you finish it, you think, yeah, I've absolutely smashed that workout. And although you might have fueled, so people say, oh, you've put more calories in. Yeah, that's fine. You put more calories in preloading it, so you have a really good workout. When you come out the other end, you are positive, you're confident, you're happy that you've had a really good workout, because anybody who's watching this who's done a workout like fasted or like low on carbs is going to know how tough that workout is. And at the end of it, all you feel is though, I've gotten through that workout, not I've had an awesome workout. And then you're still in the same situation where you're tired and hungry and you're craving foods. Whereas if you preload and fuel the workout, you go and have a great run, you're going to have a great spin session, you go and have a really good gym session, come out the other side, yeah, that was awesome. And you're like, now I'm wanting to stick to my diet better, I'm wanting to keep on with my calorie deficit or whatever you're trying to accomplish, because I've done that positive thing, and the positive thing I've done, I've reinforced with more nutrition. So it's not a question of, oh, we need to restrict food all the time. It's more a question of what I call smarter eating, rather than eat less, move more. It's eat smarter, move with purpose. So if you're going to do this awesome gym workout, smash in a bagel beforehand. Okay, that's about 100 calories or 180 calories that's going in. What's coming out the other end? Maybe you haven't burned an extra 180 calories, but the workout you've had has given you so much impetus to be more successful and improve your body even more, that when you come out the other side and go, oh, I'm tired, you know, I'm a bit run down, that was a good workout, I'm going to eat my steak and potato, rather than I need a big pizza to reward myself for getting through that. And this is the thing that I think it's a crucial thing for people to understand. A diet is not a case of you go on a diet to be in hell for as long as you can manage it. We're always on a diet of some. If that diet is quality street and cake all the time, that's still a diet. It's making sure the diet fits what you like to eat, and the training, your workout diet, I suppose, is what you like to do as well, because then that becomes very easy to follow. And all the other things, such as staying consistent and having the right environment around you and all these sorts of things, become a lot easier to accomplish, and a lot easier. Say if you've got people, because we all have people around us who are maybe working against us, you know, or why are you training so much? Why are you eating that? You know, you don't need to lose weight. You're beautiful as it is. Yeah, it's great. I'm not ugly. I'm actually just want to lose some body fat. Thanks for saying I'm beautiful as I am. It's all these other things that people say to you, which they think are helping you, but they're not. And it's easier to cope with those things if you're really enjoying what you're doing. If you don't like your workout, if you don't like the training, and someone says, oh, why are you doing that? You know, come out to the pub or come out for, like, oh, yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I will, because I hate my training. And it's easier to stop doing that. It's easier to come off your diet if you don't like it and be tempted by the things.
It's almost like, if you think about muscle memory as well, in terms of what you said, like the longer that you've been training, the easier it is to keep your muscle and maintain your muscle through a period of not training, or through COVID where you need to do like body weight stuff. Like when I came back, I felt like myself again within 2 weeks. And that's because I've been doing this for I think 7 years now. Like I can maintain my progress. I have a lot more flexibility with what I'm able to do because I've been doing it for so long. And it's the same with what you just said. I wrote so many notes because there's so much good shit you just said. Like, this is why your identity is so important, and knowing what it takes to get the life, the mindset, the body that you want. Because when you are so clear on that and what it takes, you are more likely to do the thing. Like, okay, maybe training with weights is something you don't want to do, but you kind of have to do it to get that body that you're looking at. Like, you need to know what it takes to get the body, and don't just say, oh, I don't like this, I want to do what I like. Well, then you can't say that you want that body, because you need to do the things you need to do. So yes, it's uncomfortable at first. Yes, it's hard at first. Yes, it's painful at first, because your body doesn't know what it's like to be under a barbell. So yes, you're going to have muscle soreness after. Yes, it's going to be painful for a couple of weeks, but your body adapts. You get more pain tolerance. Like, I only remember now that I've been reflecting on it recently, that I used to love training right before I slept, because I just lie in bed like this and be like, my legs are throbbing. I'm so lucky I'm about to knock out. Like, I was so sore after my workouts when I started. But now that I think about it, it's like my muscle soreness is nothing like that right now, or it probably is just as bad, but I'm more tolerant to it. And I actually like not being sore, because it takes away from my day-to-day movement and my daily movement. But you become a lot more pain tolerant, not only to your gym workouts, but to life. As soon as you learn to push through the grit and cry through some of your reps, when you're doing like those leg extensions and it's burning and you keep going, like, you apply that shit to life. And once you tune in to how much all of this stuff benefits you in your day-to-day life and the shit that matters, showing up to relationships, going for it in your career, you'll actually feel more compelled to do the thing. But if you're always chasing end results, like when I was a competitive powerlifter and all I could think about is, shit, I have to lift 160 kilos today. I'm dreading my workout. Like, having that pressure on myself, it wasn't always a positive thing, knowing that I have a competition to prep for and I have this record to set, or whatever it is. It works until it doesn't, and it can actually do more harm than good, because I remember dreading more sessions than I enjoyed. But when you do it because it's creating a better you to show up every single day, you're more likely to do it. And like you said, you need to design your life and not just let it run on default settings, because our default settings aren't serving us and they aren't getting us to where we want to be. Our default settings are a reflection of our environment, the way we were brought up. And most of the time, that's a story we don't want to live out. Like, we want to change that. So you need to actively design your life. And it's easier to justify your excuses when you're full of that clutter around you and you're full of the things that serve your older self. So you need to change your environment first before you can enable yourself to make the systems easier. Like, that's something James Clear always talks about as well. Like, you need to make the systems easier to fall to, because you fall to your systems. If you struggle, you're going to fall to those systems. And if your environment is a mess, then you're going to be a mess and you're going to want to do nothing. And then you're going to make every single excuse under the sun and then justify it. I have this new saying, which is, know what your valid reasons are and know what are excuses, because you can't keep justifying your excuses. Are you justifying excuses to fit your story and to make you feel better? Or is it a really valid reason, like you just caught COVID or you're sick? Because then you need to slow the fuck down. And it's like, as soon as someone gets COVID, all of a sudden they're worried about everything. But when they're well, they make all the excuses under the sun why they can't do something. It's almost like when you go into holiday time and it's like, I'm going to eat so much Christmas. It's like, why do you care about your food now? You didn't care about it the other 50 weeks. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm sure you see that as well. But you probably can talk about this a little as well to kind of sum up all that as well. It's like how you reward yourself along the way and know exactly how certain things are going to benefit you and how they're not. Like, the IIFYM is probably a great way to allude to this analogy. It's like, you're okay eating all this ice cream and filling my carbs with ice cream is delicious, but what's the opportunity cost? You're not going to feel full. You're going to crave shit. You're going to perform like shit. Your mood's going to be shit. You're going to have probably a really poor digestion. It's realizing that, no, I want to eat this way with mostly veggies, a shitload of protein, plus more protein, because protein makes me feel full. I know that it's going to help me maintain my muscle. It's going to boost my metabolism because it is a higher thermic effect, and it's going to satiate me, which we already said. And I love the veggies because I know that they have vitamins and minerals that are going to enhance my metabolism. They're going to enhance my hormones. They're going to make me feel good, perform better. And like, knowing why you eat what you eat, why you do what you do, and rewarding yourself by linking it into that is so important. So maybe you can summarize the whole conversation with ending on that note, because I feel like that kind of sums it up in retrospect.
Yeah, sure. So there's a few things there. The thing about like the workouts being tough, and so you said about when people are when they say about, oh, I don't want to go to gym because the workouts are tough. Normally that's because when they've got into the gym, this workout, and they've hired a personal trainer, the personal trainer has decided that they're going to beast this person and sort of punish them with exercise so they can force this fat off, which is completely the wrong way to approach, especially someone who's new to working out. We have at my gym, I have a class which is called Launchpad, and it's basically an induction, but not crap. And the way we do it, we have one of our coaches, my head coach, Raquel, she takes the class, and it's basically a walk around of some of the machines and some of the equipment and everything else. And they do an actual workout on the stuff, but it's not like, come on, grind harder. It's like, let's get in the machine, make sure you're in the right posture, everything else, lift the weight. How did that feel? Good. Yes. And then they move on and move on. It's a very light introduction to weight training. And the benefit of that is that weight training does produce endorphins. It does produce a really nice feeling if you do it to a level which is enjoyable. But someone who's completely new to training can do a very little amount of weights and get a very high benefit from it, because you've got that newbie gains thing. And they don't need to be beasted to see results. often just a couple of exercises, a little bit of like full body training, which is literally just a couple of exercises lifting above the head, a little bit of maybe even body weight squats, you know, all that sort of thing can start to introduce their muscles to the fact that they need to lift with resistance. And then they come out of the workout feeling great, and then they go back again. And that's the thing I think people, when they're taking on new clients, or when gyms are having, you know, new clients come in, there's this thing about, and it's what we talked about again, about focusing on the goal and not the systems. People come into the gyms in January and they're like, right, I've hurt myself with food over Christmas. It's now time to punish myself with exercise to get that off. And they come into the gym and just do as much as they possibly can, and they absolutely do punish themselves, and then they can't walk for 3 or 4 days, and they go, well, that was rubbish, I'm not going back there again because it really hurt. Whereas if you do it sensibly, where you're coming, right, I've not been to the gym for a couple of years maybe, so I'm going to start introducing things a little bit slowly. I mean, I've even got a thing with a couple of people I've worked with who like wanting to lose like 30 kilos, like very, very big, overweight. I work with guys mainly now, but overweight guys. And this one guy who's he's on my testimonials, in my book, and he had exercised before, but he's fallen out of that. He was overweight, let himself go, and his bonus admission, you know, I need to do something drastic about this. And so what we did is that we introduced the gym very, very slowly. And what I said was, look, go to the gym just for 5 to 10 minutes. So as you're driving home, I want you to stop by the gym, just go in there, don't train, just sit down, say to the staff, oh, do you mind if I just sit down for 10 minutes? I want to start introducing myself to the gym. You know, and this is what he did. He just sat in the gym reception, had a cup of coffee, and left after 10 minutes. We did that for a couple of weeks. So the staff got to know him, the members start to know him, and he felt comfortable in that environment. When he was comfortable, I said, right, now what we're going to do, we're going to go in, I want you to walk for 10 minutes on the treadmill. So go in, have your coffee for 5 minutes, go and walk for 10 minutes on the treadmill, okay? And then that's it. No weights, just because he was obese, so he would get benefit from doing that because the fat burning. Then we worked and worked and worked. We gradually put in weighted workouts, everything else. And now he's training 3 or 4 times a week, 45 minutes to an hour, smashing weights. And he actually, when I finished working with him, one of his last things was, I'm signing up for triathlon. I was like, wow, that's something I would never do. So he surpassed my level of fitness. And he's lost over 30 kilos and is in incredible shape. But if he'd gone into the gym right at the start and right, I'm going to do 3 sessions of 45 minutes, I'm going to do weights and this and the other, he would have completely destroyed himself, because he started to build up those habits right from the very smallest amount, and he built on and built on and built on. He did have, during the course of us working together, he went on an all-you-can-eat holiday to Barbados, all inclusive, once in a lifetime holiday, 10 grand to go on this holiday with his girlfriend, and they went to some, like, it was like a friend's wedding or something. And he's like, well, I'm really worried about undoing all that hard work. I said, well, don't worry, because we've built up the diet, we've built up the exercise, you know what you need to do, you can enjoy an ice cream, but don't over enjoy it, etc. He went away, and by his own admission, he did absolutely take advantage of the all you can eat, you know, all inclusive buffets. And then when he came back, he had gained 7 kilos. And he said, that's fine, because we'd accepted that. He'd lost more than 7 kilos, by the way, by that time. But he gained the 7 kilos back quite quickly. But he lost it just as quickly. So he was away for about 2 weeks, I think. He come back, he lost it all within that 2 weeks, the next 2 weeks. And then he went on to lose even more weight afterwards. And because he built those systems, because he built all those things that supported him, he was right back to the gym, right back to training. Whereas one of his mates, who had done like a crash diet to get ready for this holiday, they went out there, overate all the time because they were now off their diet, came back and they gained like 10, 15 kilos or whatever. And they had still gained that weight even after, like, you know, my guy had lost it, because he built the systems. And that's what's really, really important. If you are trying to transform something in your life, you don't handbrake turn it. It's what can I change today? The 1% movement that I can change today. An example would be people who want to do like Veganuary, which is a big thing. That's a big thing over in England. I don't know if it's big in Australia, but Veganuary is, I'm going to be a vegan for January. Okay, but why are you being a vegan? Is it because it's ethical, or is it because you think vegan diet is going to lose more body fat? And it's normally the more body fat, but people also would like to be vegan. For a lot of people have the ethics that they want to do that, and that's totally cool. I get that 100%. But if you're going to do Veganuary with a course to being a vegan long term, it's not really advisable to just completely stop eating meat completely and go straight onto plant-based, because you haven't got those systems, and you'll come unstuck when it's like, oh, I've been stressed, oh, the kids have been whatever, a stressful situation. That's when you'll break that. So the way to do that effectively is to say, right, we're going to start Wednesday, we're going to have a plant-based meal in the evening. Okay, then it's when you've done that for a couple of weeks, now Wednesday and Friday, now Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And over the course of, say, 3 to 4 months, rather than 4 weeks, you're introducing more plant-based diet food. And so you're becoming accustomed to eating that way. And after a while, you'll be switching to fully plant-based, because you've got all those systems built in and you know what plant-based food you like. You're not just eating the same stuff all the time. You're looking at new recipes. And before long, you have changed and changed to a vegan diet, which is, you're going to sustain that for more length of time than you would if you tried to handbrake turn it into January.
It's so true. But on that veganuary note, it's people just jump to what the masses are doing without understanding like the truth behind it. Like, if anything, it's harder to get the optimal physique being a vegan, because most protein sources as a vegan come with carbs, come with fats. It's harder to have any lean protein sources. Like the way that you even have to put proteins together to have complete amino ratios in itself is just, you're adding so much more. And I had this conversation with 2 of my girls ages ago. They're not vegan anymore because they ended up understanding the process, but they weren't vegan for the sake of wanting control over their diet. But the restrictions from having this veganism led to them always binging on chocolate because they felt so restricted from being a vegan. But this is why systems are so important, and people have the wrong idea of what it takes to train and build a body. Like when you said with the PTs smashing people, it's like, you don't need to sweat and grind and be sore. Like, so many times I hear, I don't feel like I'm doing enough, I'm not smashing myself enough, I'm not sweating enough, I'm not sore enough. They don't think they do enough. And then no wonder you have such a resentment walking into the gym. Like, but I think, to sum up what you just said, and to sum up a lot of this as well, is like, people have this mentality, kind of like when you go into a buffet. Well, I want to get what I paid for, so I'm going to eat all of the things and try all of the things, and they stuff themselves full, and then they're like juicing, like, and then they go home and crash because they ate so much. But that's what they do with everything. Like, they get a coach. Okay, I need to make the most out of this, I'm going to do everything. And then it's like, I'm not going to just do a walk, I'm paying for this, so I'm going to do this. It's like they want to get the most out of their investment, but in doing that, they're wasting more of their investment because it's not the right thing for them right now. You can't yet do that much. Realize that you're not investing money into everything that you get from that coach in that one day, in that 1 week, in that 1 month. You're not paying them for a program in that week. You're not paying them for, like, it's a service, it's not a product. So you're not paying for, okay, you're going to give me this many workouts, you're going to give me this diet, you're going to be really strict on me so I can get these results. You're paying for the end result that you want to last, not something that's going to last 1 day or never even come, because you want everything now. So you just brought up that, because you said it so well, that it's so true. That's the way people approach it. It's like, I'm paying so much money to you, so I want to do everything right now. Give me everything. But yeah, so I guess, are there any final remarks that you want to end this with? I do think Target Lean literally summarizes everything that you just said. I do remember you talking about that man as well, and so I'm like, oh, I remember this guy. But yeah, it's
Dr. Shreds.
You want to make it a lifestyle that facilitates your ideal self, not one that is harder to have these habits. Like, instead of straining yourself to form habits over and over again, create the environment, create the lifestyle, actually reprogram your mind to just make the habits easier to do, because then you don't have to force yourself so much.
Yeah, exactly. It's all the stuff that I talk about with my clients, and most of my clients are guys. It's and guys do have I find quite often the mentality of this all or nothing approach, and sometimes you do have to say, well, hold on, we're looking for this end result, but we haven't built those systems yet to get there. Building up into that will get you that sort of like that jet fire response in terms of your workouts. But if you hit that too soon, then you tend to burn out. So I think the main thing about if you're looking to do any sort of body transformation, if you're trying to get stronger, if you're trying to get leaner, if you're trying to build more muscle, you need to work back. So what's the end goal you want to get to, and break that down into very small stages, which you can do over the course of, say, 6 weeks. So, for example, when I'm smart goal planning with people and they say, I want to say build more muscle and get leaner. Okay, so part of that is going to be eating more protein. Oh, okay, I'll eat like 2 grams per kilo per day. Okay, what are you eating at the moment? 1 gram per kilo. Okay, that's a double jump. That's too much. What we need to focus on is getting to, say, 1.4. Then when you've accomplished that and you're doing that, then we're going 1.6, then we're 1.8. And the benefits of that is your body is adjusting to that increase in nutrition, the change in nutrition. It's becoming more efficient at using those foods. And it's the same with exercise. I want to get completely jacked and have like massive arms. Okay, we haven't got any arms at the moment. So let's not do some triple drop set workouts. Let's just do a little bit of biceps, but let's build up with big compound movements. So the body's developing that overall framework for having more muscle. It's very common that guys will say, I want bigger arms. Okay, well, how, do you do rows? Do you do bench press? Do you do dips? Well, no, not really. I'll just train arms. Well, there's your issue. There's no foundation, because you don't see guys walking around with like massive arms and like no body. That just doesn't happen. It's all part of that big equation. And I think when people are just focusing on that little end result, that thing they want, then you're not stepping back and seeing what also has to be in place to accomplish that. So if you want bigger arms, you're going to have bigger chest. You're going to have a bigger back. You're going to have bigger legs, because the body grows proportionately, generally, to the stress you place on it. And if you're not doing all those things and facilitating an environment where your body can grow and giving it all the things it needs to grow, you're not going to get that end result, which might be big arms or whatever, bigger chest.
I love that. Yeah. So women listening to this, just replay what he just said at the end, but replace the arms with glutes, because it's exactly the same with glutes. You're not going to get your glutes by doing silly little banded shit and like these abduction things that don't even target your glutes. So with that, I'm going to leave your Instagram handle below. And is there anything else that you want me to include in the bio?
Well, I do have a YouTube channel, which actually does have a video called the best 5 exercises for glutes, not hip thrust, I think. So it's 5 awesome exercises for glutes, which are not the traditional stuff that you see on Instagram. That's my most watched video, ironically, over all my YouTube channel. So yeah, it must be popular. It must do the trick. So if you want to watch some of my YouTube stuff, I've got training, nutrition, and sort of habit stuff on there. That's just, if you just search Tom Blackman on YouTube, it should hopefully pop up.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. And that was such an awesome conversation. If you guys like this, they have ratings on Spotify now, so don't forget to give it a 5-star rating. And I will see you in my next episode.